back to Mariah by the Books. I am back with another nonfiction self-help type of review, and today I just want to talk to you guys about zero waste books. So I have two here, and I've been kind of reading both. The first one I read was this one by Shia. I picked both of these up in my local library. So this one was written in 2016, and then the second one I read was this one by Amy Korst, which was written in 2012. So this one's older, but I read this one first. So we're kind of going to go through them a little bit and talk about what I think are the strengths and the weaknesses of both of them. So let me talk about this one first, since I read it first. So this book is a great, quick read if you're wanting to get a lot of information in a short time. Just get through it and get done. And you really just want to know what steps you can take to do better. This book is marketed as being very simple and for the beginner, and I would have to say that I vehemently disagree. This book really pushes for some extreme solutions, which are great and I'm sure would be very helpful for the environment, but I think would be very difficult and frustrating for the average consumer. So just to give a couple of examples, she's very much in favor of not shopping at all. She's also pushing for everyone to eat a vegan diet. She also really finds that everything has to be completely plastic free. So even if you already have a reusable plastic container, you should switch it out for a glass one. And then there's a few other suggestions she makes, like making shampoo for your hair out of rye flour and water, and making laundry detergent by foraging for horse chestnuts, grinding them up, and using those to wash your clothes. So I would say that those are not really beginner solutions. I feel like those are kind of extreme solutions that are probably going to turn off your average consumer who just wants to do more for the environment. So while I think a lot of these solutions are great, and some of them are certainly easier than others, I feel like this book kind of almost gives the impression that you have to go to those extremes, or you're not doing enough, or you're not doing anything. And I don't think that's a great place to start as a beginner. I think for most of us, if we want to make a change, we're going to have an easier time making that change gradually by, buying fewer things, being mindful of the packaging they come in, working hard to remember our reusable bags, that kind of stuff. Whereas this book, you have to basically start over from scratch with no plastic containers, no plastic packaging at all, and I just don't know if that's necessarily as manageable. She also makes some suggestions that I feel like would be bothersome for a lot of us. For example, getting a burrito to go and just wrapping it in a reusable cotton bag that she has. And I don't know about you, but for me, those Chipotle burritos do not tend to stay in one piece. So I feel like it would be everywhere if I just had it in a bag. And I just don't know that I would recommend starting here if you're someone who really just is coming from a very beginner, you want to help the environment, but you don't know how. I don't think that this is the book to make you feel good about the changes that you can make or that you feel comfortable making. I just don't know that it's sustainable to make all of your cosmetics at home. I think there are ingredients and things like that that are very beneficial for us that are not available on the shelf of a health food store. And I think that this approach, while it might be great, is so extreme that it's going to turn off the majority of people. So I don't know. I think this book is fine. I think it has a lot of good information in it. But I think you could find a lot of this information online. The other thing that I kind of thought was funny is that she talks about going digital and reducing your paper waste, and yet this is a physical copy of a book. And I just find it a little bit ironic because even in 2016, 4 years ago, it was pretty easy to get a Kindle and get an ebook that would have zero environmental impact versus this one, which she says is uses sustainably sourced paper and soy inks. It would definitely have been more sustainable to not print it at all. So that's just kind of the thing that, I don't know, I feel like it gets frustrating for people when they're being told that they have to go to these extremes, but the people who are profiting from these ideas maybe are not buying into what they preach so much. So again, I think this book is fine. I think if you're looking for ideas for things that you can do, some of which might be a little bit more extreme than others, this might be an okay place to start. I would posit that a lot of these solutions are available online through the various zero waste blogs and YouTubers and people like that are online. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to buy this book because I feel like a lot of these tips are available elsewhere. But if you are interested in a book that's mostly just tips and is a fairly quick and easy read, then this one might be for you. So, you know, again, these videos are all going to be kind of my opinion, so just because I don't like a book doesn't mean it won't be useful for you. Just because I don't like the book doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means that maybe it's not the right book for me. And I think that's why it's so important, if you're reading about a topic that you think might be important to you, to maybe pick up more than one book, because one book might have an approach that you don't like or don't agree with, but that doesn't necessarily mean you don't agree with the movement. It might just mean you don't agree with that particular author, which is kind of what happened with me here. So this book really frustrated me, but then I picked up this one and I felt a lot more inspired to make changes in my home and in my own life. So let's talk about Amy Korst's book. So this book is basically what it says on the cover: live well by throwing away less. So she approaches this book from the standpoint that anybody can do something to make a difference by reducing their trash. So Amy Korst's book is not marketed in quite the same way, where it's supposed to be a simple guide for beginners. But I found for me that I think it is actually a better book if you are beginning and wanting to learn more about the zero waste movement. So she approaches this by giving you a lot of background information about what happens when you throw something away or recycle something or compost it. So she explains that just because something is biodegradable doesn't mean it will biodegrade in a landfill. She talks about the fact that recycling things doesn't necessarily mean that they are endlessly reused, and in most cases they are not. And she just gives you a lot of that information to kind of explain, you know, why you should care in a way that's very informative and not condescending at all. It doesn't make you feel like you're a horrible person for not knowing these things. It's just saying, hey, here's what's going on, and here are some things that you can do to make a difference, should you choose to. I also really felt like this book took a much more nuanced and realistic approach to reducing your waste. So rather than saying like everybody should be using no plastic whatsoever, she advocates for using the things that you have. So if you have plastic Tupperwares, then use those rather than buying something new. And she really pushes for doing what you can. So if you're not willing or able to give up your store-bought shampoo and conditioner, maybe buy the larger bottles so that you're using less plastic for the amount of product. Maybe try decreasing the amount that you use for each wash so that that plastic container will go longer. And then do make sure you recycle it. So rather than pushing so hard to make such extreme changes, this book kind of centers on changes that are easier for more of us to make without having a huge disruption to the way we live our lives. She does offer solutions for things like how to make your own carpet deodorizers and your own cleaners and things like that, but she also talks about how you can buy more sustainable cleaning options and recycle the packaging. So this book definitely gives you more ideas for more ways to do something that's an improvement on what you're doing. And I really like the way that she structured it, where she had beginning, moderate, and advanced levels to different changes you can make for each chapter. So each chapter kind of focuses on a different area, whether it's recycling or bathroom trash or things like that. And she really just kind of makes it feel like, yeah, you know what, I can do that. I can try to bring a Tupperware if I'm going to be eating out at a restaurant and not finish my food, you know. I can bring my silverware with me to work. And in her case, it's a plastic silverware set. So there are options, and there are ways to make a difference in reducing your waste without it being completely radical, and I really liked that this book highlighted those. She also talks about different things you can do with plastic packaging to recycle it or make sure that it gets reused. And I should mention, in this book, she doesn't require you to bring a portable bidet bottle with you to avoid using toilet paper out in public restrooms, which did come up in this book. I forgot about that until just now, but yeah, not really an approach I'm willing to take personally, but I guess if it works for you, then great. But this book, again, is just so much more realistic. You know, she lists companies that you can give your cosmetics containers to, that they'll be recycled and turned into various things, while also giving you information about microplastics and why you should try to use better products. So if you're looking for a book that really does cater to beginners and people who are wanting to learn and people who are wanting to change what they're doing, maybe without disrupting their entire existence and their family's life and making their entire focus of their entire life trash, I think this is definitely the book to pick up. There may be others out there. These are just the two that I found at my library. But I would also say that there's a lot of really good information. There are a lot of great YouTubers and bloggers out there that you could go to if you can't get a hold of one of these books through your library, which would definitely be a more sustainable approach than buying a book brand new. She also highlights thrifting and buying things used, you know, reusing things where you can and donating things, which is very realistic. Whereas in the other book, Shia wanted you to be very mindful of where you're donating things and make sure that they're not selling it to a third country that's going to disrupt their local economy. Which, to be honest with you, I don't have time to worry about not producing any trash, not shopping, not donating anything to the wrong place. And I do still want to be able to make a little bit of a difference. And so this book, I feel like, is much more my speed. I feel like I can take this book and find different places to start instead of it being the be-all end-all of I have to do everything right now. Because to be honest, I don't know how I would get rid of all of my polyester clothes that have, you know, the potential to shed plastic microfibers without donating them to a place that might donate them to a third world country that might then sell them and disrupt the economy. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot to focus on. It's a lot to worry about. And I think that if you can just do your best, you know, not throw as much stuff away, not buy as many things that you know you're going to throw away, try and make more things at home. That's a much simpler approach. That's a much more manageable approach for most of us, and I think that's what this book is getting at. So if you're interested in either of these books, I definitely can recommend this one if you are more of a beginner. And I would recommend maybe this one if you're interested, if you've already gotten started reducing your waste, but you're interested in going to a more extreme level, this one would probably be a good one for you. But with that being said, I don't think you necessarily need either of them. I think that a lot of this information is available online, and in fact, both of these authors have blogs that they started on before they published their books. So you can certainly find this information on the internet somewhere or on YouTube, and that is an option as well. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of these books, if you've read them, if you're interested in making these kinds of changes in your own home or your own life. And if you liked this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more content from me, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you're notified when I post new content. I love to talk about books, libraries, anything related to those kind of areas, and I appreciate you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye. Hey, Rupert. Come here.